Hello and welcome to a new session on machine learning and data science. These are a series of prerequisite sessions that I've been conducting for the past few weeks, and this is session number 3, and in this session we'll look at variables and libraries in Python. Before we start, in order to learn how to use SPIDER IDE for the development of Python and writing a simple Python Hello World program, please visit my previous session. The link of the previous session is provided in the description. And in order to understand more details about it, please subscribe and follow my channel on YouTube to give you more details and have many more videos such as these, providing you a strong foundation in machine learning and data science. In this session, we'll learn about the usage of variables in Python, the casting of variables, the type function and how to use it to get the type of a variable. We'll also try to understand the handling of collection of variables and also the usage of a library. Before we learn about variables, it becomes very important for us to understand some rules about Python variables. A variable name should start with a letter or an underscore. So you cannot start a variable name with a number, or you cannot start it with a pound symbol or anything. It certainly has to be a letter or an underscore character. And the variables can be only alphanumeric by nature. So when I say this, that implies that no special symbols are allowed except for underscore. The variable names are usually case sensitive in Python. Like my previous sessions where I have indicated that Python is a very case sensitive programming language. Here you need to have a clear understanding that an age that is given in small letters is not equal to an age that is written in a camel case, and also an age that is written in all caps. So please have these rules at the back of your mind while using variables in Python. So let's jump right into the usage of variables, assigning of their values, and let's also learn a few things and tricks about how to use these variables efficiently and effectively for our Python course. So let's start with a simple variable x. Now in Python you don't use any kind of syntax indicating the data type of that particular variable. Like I said, the data type of a variable is assigned the first time that you actually assign a value to x. So in Python, when we have to start with a variable and use it, we start with its initial assignment that we have to do. So here let me take a variable x, and now if I give that variable x a value of 5, and this 5 is an integer number. So when I'm using an integer, this particular variable x is given a data type of an integer. So let me show you. As I have told you in the executor summary before, that I'll be talking to you about type as well, but let's start looking at how the value of x is represented. So when I say print x, this indicates that this particular variable x which is there is being printed by the print function. Now this print function is not the same as having a small x. The small x is a value that is not present yet in the complete Python script file, number one. The second aspect that you need to take into consideration is that this x is not equivalent to this x. So when I go ahead and execute this program, it should throw me an error indicating that this particular value x is not defined. So here in the output console you can see that the value x is not defined. Now let me just remove this and let me just execute this Python file, and let me see what the output comes. So the output is printed as 5. Now if I want to understand the data type of x, I need to use a function called as type. The type function consists of a single parameter where you give the value of x, and when I execute this one, it says the function is a integer. Now whenever I'm actually printing out the values of variables and whenever I'm printing out the type of variables, there is a chance that I might need a conversion or a casting kind of a provision where I assign the value casted into the variable x. Now here I can cast that particular value by giving the data type class that is being used for that particular variable. For example, I can say y equals to float of 5.0 or z equals to string. And when you give values in string values in Python, you can use single quotes or you can use double quotes as well. Let me show you both. Test a equal to str, test, let me name it as test a and test z so that you can differentiate it. And Python has the ability to accept imaginary numbers as well. So if I take a variable b, then I can give something called as a complex class, and in the complex class, the complex value which is there, the under root of -1 value which is there, is often represented as j. So I can say 3 plus 5j. Here the 3 is the real part of the function, the 5 is the real part of the imaginary value, and j is under root of -1. Okay, so this is how these variables can be declared and assigned. Now here you need to understand that I cannot write capital float, I have to write small float. That is a proper function. Like I've said, Python is a case sensitive language, so if I give capital S small tr, that is incorrect, so I have to give all small values. Okay, so now when I say print type of capital Y, print type of A, print type of Z, and print type of B, that will print me the types of each of these variables. And if I execute this Python file, it will give me that the x value is 5, the type of x is 5, the y is float, and z is a string, a is a string. Like I've said, you can use double quotes or single quotes for strings, and for complex numbers such as b, you can always represent it with 5j. So the j value is under root of -1. So always remember, in Python the imaginary number is represented with under root of -1. Now the value x can be used as an output variable. So how do we do that? Suppose the value of x is equals to ML and data science, and I can say Python plays an important role in, and I can concatenate the value of x. Here the concatenation symbol is plus in Python. So if I put x value of x here and if I save it, then what happens is, upon execution, it will print that Python plays an important role in ML and data science. So similarly, I can perform certain operations inside the output and then print them out. For example, I can say x is equal to 5, y is equal to 10, and I can do print x plus y. Now let's execute this and see. Now, before we execute, one important thing that you need to notice is that initially when I gave x, I give it as ml and data science. Now again in the same script, when I give the x value 5, the value 5, the integer value assignment happens to x and the data type is converted to integer. So when I run this, it will first print me the Python plays an important role where x, the value of x is a string, and the next part is when I give the value of x and y to be 10 and 5. So when I print x plus y, it will summate the values of x and y and give me the value of 15. In Python, the variable can also be a list. So let's look at one example. So I can take a variable x and I can declare it as a list. For the list, the condition is that the complete list should be encased by the square brackets. So I have the square brackets listed, and each item of the list has to be represented by the particular value of that particular square bracket. So I can just put in here, I can say var value 1, and I can put in value 2, and I can put in val 3. So if you see here, the value of x is a list, and the list will consist of value 1, 2 and value 3. Now the list x can be printed using the print function. So I'll put print of x. When I do print of x, what happens is the list that is present in x is printed out. So you can see the value 1, value 2, value 3 list is printed. Python gives you the ability to assign these individual list values to separate variables. One particular way to do that is a comma b comma c is equal to x. Now if I do print a, print b and print c, the value 1 will be assigned to a, value 2 will be assigned to b, value 3 will be assigned to c. So if I run this, you can see a is printed as val 1, b is printed as value 2 and c is printed as value 3. So this is how a list can be used in Python. Now Python can have the variables declared at the global level and the local level. Let us look at an example that shows you how a Python variable and its scope is defined and it can be used across multiple functions. So let me just write a small program here. Now let me call a function. Let me define a function. Define let me say fuc and colon, and I say print x. Now when I call my function fuc and execute this particular program, it will print the value of 5. Now this x, which is defined globally, is being used inside the value of x. Similarly, if I say define summation function, set y equal to 10, print x plus y, it will print me the value of the x which is being declared globally plus the y value which is declared locally. So when I execute this, it will print me the value of 15. So a value x can be declared globally. Now one more method of declaring the value x globally would be using the keyword global x, and I would say x equal to 5. So when I do this, this particular value of x would be having the scope of global, that is, it would be available through the Python script, and it will consist of the value of 5, and that particular value of 5 is further used in summation. So let us look at the execution of this particular code. So if you see, the global value x was declared globally and it was set to 5, and when I printed x plus y, then the summation had actually printed x plus y. Now if at all, if I don't say global x, suppose if I just remove this particular piece of code and if I just declared x as a simple x, the scope of that x would be restricted to that particular function only. So when I do this, you can see there's an error that is being dropped. The print x plus y, here the value of x is not defined. So you need to understand, if at all if you are declaring inside a function a variable and you want that variable to be used elsewhere in other functions, either you declare it outside here by saying x equals to 5, or you can go ahead and give that particular variable a global designation inside the function, and that could be used. Now one more aspect that I would like to pay attention to, suppose if at all if I have a variable declaration like this, x equal to 5, and if I say x equal to 10. Now let us see how this value of x varies. When I print this, here the x value that is declared here is not the same as the x value that is declared here. So when you print this particular function gives out the value of 10, which is locally set for variable x, and when you go for the second function where y is equal to 10, the x value is still considered the global value and the corresponding global value is assigned. So even though you declare a x value as a global this thing, and inside you assign that particular x value to this to another value, that particular value assignment and everything is restricted to that particular function, and it is not propagated, and this is considered as a local variable than global variable. The scope of this change of x value being set to 10 is restricted to the scope of the function itself. So please make a note of this and have the utility of global variables drive your programs more efficiently, and I hope you have fun with these variables. Python provides you a list of libraries from which you can use various functions and ready to use modules, and these modules perform various functions ranging from generating of random numbers to plotting graphs to importing data from CSV files. So for all those common activities, you don't need to write any code from scratch. You can use the ready steady state libraries that are available with Python. The list of libraries of Python are available at this website. The link to this website is provided at docs.python.org/library. So the link is provided in the description. So let's go to that link and let's have a look as to what the site is about. So this is the site that I was mentioning earlier in the earlier slide. So this is the Python standard library. It has various built-in functions, the built-in constants. The exceptions and processing related items are available. Numeric and mathematical models are available. So you can see here, if at all if I go to random, there are number of details provided regarding random. So for example, you have random.seed. So the documentation of this is pretty much self-explanatory. So it will tell you what is a seed, and then you have the get state, you have the set state, you have random bytes, you have random range. You can give the start and stop range, and you can also give the step of that particular random variable. And also when you do rand int, it returns a random integer n such that a is less than or equal to n is less than or equal to b. So let's go ahead and try using one of the function, and let's try importing one library and see how to use it. So in order to do that, let's go back to our spider. So any import library, right, it starts with import. So you need to type import random, and if you want to use a function from that random, suppose I want to print a random integer between 10 and 50, so I'm just gonna say print, and I need to mention from which library I'm getting that particular function. So I'm gonna use random dot rand int, right? So that is a function that we have seen. So let me just give a number. So the value of a, I'll say let it be 10. The value of b, let it be 15. So between 10 and 15 I want it to print any random number, so it will just go ahead and start printing any random number. So the number of times that I execute, it will just print out any random number related to the range of 10 and 15. Sometimes these libraries or modules, as they are called in Python, can be very long in nature and can be difficult for somebody who is writing a long program to remember the complete name of the import function despite having IntelliSense and then typing it in the code. And also the code looks dirty when the name is pretty long and you're typing some abc dot function and values. So here Python gives you the ability to use aliases. So the way I give alias is I say as r, and here instead of typing random I will just go ahead and put r dot randint is equal to randint 10 comma 15. So when I execute this, that particular r uses the random module, random library or module, and then it will take that particular function, and that particular function is executed with the given set parameters. So this is another way to import your library and use the alias for a convenient program writing so that your code is more readable and legible. So this concludes our session about usage of variables as well as libraries in Python. I hope you found this session very useful. If you like the video, please hit the like button, and please subscribe to receive updates regarding more videos such as these, and stay happy, my friends. Thank you.